Hey guys, welcome back here to the Fishing Teacher. Appreciate you guys swinging by the channel and hanging with me a little bit. And guys, we're going to be talking about the month of May fishing a swim jig, which I think is the best month of the year to fish a swim jig. The thing about it is a lot of the topics that we talk about, especially like lures and techniques, you hear me talking about it throughout the year. But the thing about it is every lure category out there has a different situation that it works in depending upon the time of the year. So for example, we're going to be talking about swim jigs today, and how you fish a swim jig in the month of May is different than how you fish it like in June or July or even in the fall time of the year. The seasonal movements and the patterns of the fish require sometimes different sizes, different colors, different areas. So we're going to be talking about fishing a swim jig this month, which is May at the time of filming this video. And also guys, we're going to be talking about my favorite swim jig. This is the Megabass Ouzo Swimmer. Absolutely, I think it's the best swim jig on the market. It's got the patented Megabass fish head design that makes the bait run completely straight through the water. It's got a super sharp nano-coated stiff hook. It's got a great keeper on it. You can hardly pull the trailer off of there. And it's got this blade on the bottom here, which actually adds some flash to the swim jig that increase strike. So this will be in my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of the video, along with the Zoom Z-Craw Junior trailer that I like to use in it here. Okay guys, talk a little bit about swim jigs in May. Now, here is why a swim jig works so good in May. It's, for the most part across the country, the month of May is sort of the late spawn into the early post-spawn time of the year. That means you still have a lot of bass shallow, and you also still have a lot of bass, or not still, but you have bass that are actively feeding, trying to recuperate from all the energy they spent spawning, whether it be males or females. So in the month of May, it's sort of unique that you've got a lot of bass that are actively feeding in shallow water. Now in April, they are shallow, but they don't actively feed because they're focused on spawning. They more actively feed in the month of May. And a swim jig, guys, is one of the best ways to catch them in May, because the difference, we talk a lot about sort of the mood and the personality of the bass. In April, a lot of times the bass want a slow bait, like a jig, a Texas rig, a shaky head, a wacky rig. But in May, they start to bite moving baits better. Your crankbaits, spinner baits, top waters, and especially swim jigs, coming through the water column. So, and on top of that, the shad are spawning in May in a lot of lakes across the country. And there's nothing that resembles a spawning shad like this Megabass Ouzo Swimmer, a little shad pattern with a little flashing blade on there. It's super, super good for the shad spawn type fish here. Now, also guys, in May, this is the color I fish. I fish some type of a pearl or white. This is about the only time I do that. In my swim jigs, I really like to use a perch pattern or something like a black and blue a lot of times. But in the month of May, I've got the some type of a shad pattern on like this. Okay, let's talk a little bit about how and where you want to fish this. It's pretty easy to do because you want to fish a swim jig in the same type of areas that for the most part that the bass have been spawning in, and that is flatter banks, that sort of like the back ends of the coves and shallow water. Anywhere that you think the bass have spawned in, this is a really good area to fish a swim jig. And also, you're going to find out that you catch more bass on a swim jig on the flatter type banks. For whatever reason, I guess it puts the fish up shallower, but they like a flat, shallow bank. In correlation with that, you've got to have some stained water. I have never had a good swim jig bite, with the exception of like fishing it deeper over like submerged grass this time of year if you didn't have stained water. I like very stained water. My ideal situation for a swim jig in May is to have water visibility of 12 inches or less. That's my favorite. You can catch them in a little bit cleaner water. I mean, I've caught them in up to 2 foot of visibility, 2.5 foot of visibility sometimes, especially if it's shady or cloudy out. But I want to have dirtier water. So about 12 inches of visibility is perfect, along with some type of, shallow cover. It helps if you have, shallow grass is really good, like, any type of gator grass or just lily pads or reeds or just any type of shallow emergent vegetation. That's probably the number one cover. You don't have to have that. It works good fishing it around lay down wood in the water, around docks, and even on bare banks. I catch a lot of fish on a swim jig just casting it down shady banks, or like if there's an overhanging tree, cast it up underneath that overhanging tree. And when you throw it out there, guys, throw it out, keep your rod tip high, and just and reel it and shake it like that at the same time. You don't want to throw your swim jig out there and just reel it in. You want to keep your rod at about 10 or 11 o'clock position and shake it like that, and you want to reel it fast enough where it stays within about 6 inches of the surface. Ideally, I want to see my swim jig, even if the water visibility is 12 inches. So I like to keep it about that far underneath the water and just using the stop and go retrieve over that shallow water. And guys, if you've never caught them on a swim jig, it's one of the funnest bites, because since you're fishing this bait right under the surface, a lot of times not only you see the fish come up and get it, but the fish will boil it almost like a topwater. So it's a really fun bite if you've never caught one on that. But it's pretty easy to fish, guys. Just cover shallow water with it, keep it in sight, shake at your rod tip a little bit with it. I normally use, anywhere between 17 to 20 pound test fluorocarbon line with it, just a 7 foot 2 inch medium heavy bait cast rod. And it's just a really good way to catch quality fish. It catches good fish, guys. You can catch a lot of 3 to 4 pounders on a swim jig in May. So anyway, guys, I hope it helps you out. Again, check out the Megabass Uzo swimmer and my tackle warehouse link in the description. I think you'll really like it, and we'll check in later.